Hello everyone, how are you all? I hope you all are safe and healthy. सो आई होप अभी तक आपने वो पीयर रिव्यू वाली वीडियो देख ली होगी जिसके अंदर हमने पूरा का पूरा चैप्टर डिटेल में कवर किया है विद ऑल द कॉन्सेप्ट्स एंड दैट इज़ डन फ्रॉम माय नोट्स. तो अगर आपने वो वीडियो नहीं देखी है तो पहले प्लीज़ उस वीडियो को देख लेना जिससे कि आपकी कॉन्सेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी हो जाए और फिर आप इस रिवीजन को अच्छे से कर पाओ. क्योंकि अगर आपको वो चैप्टर नहीं आता, कॉन्सेप्ट्स नहीं पता तो फिर ये रिवीजन वीडियो का कोई फ़ायदा नहीं होने वाला. सो इट्स बेटर, या तो आपने ऑलरेडी प्रिपेयर कर लिया है देन इट्स फाइन. अगर आपको नहीं आता तो पहले आप प्लीज़ उस वीडियो को रेफर करना क्योंकि हम उसी सीक्वेंस में सारी की सारी रिवीजन करने वाले हैं और आपको ज़्यादा हेल्पफुल होगा अगर आपने वहाँ से पहले प्रिपेयर किया होगा. ठीक है. सो ओके, सो दिस इज जस्ट अ रिविजन वीडियो. नो कॉन्सेप्ट्स विल बी कवर्ड इन दिस. For concepts you can refer to the conceptual video. So let's begin with the peer review revision. The revision goes from here, right? So the first thing that we studied in the peer review was its meaning. What is the meaning of peer review? Peer review is the re-examination of subject matter by a person of similar standing. Why is the re-examination required? It is required because the compliance with the technical standards, professional standards is required, and the regulatory requirements are also to be complied with. Also, it is required because the reviewer needs to check whether a proper system to ensure the quality has been placed by the practice unit or not. What do you mean by the technical standards, professional standards? So, AS by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for the companies given under section 133, AS by institute for other than companies, Ind AS under section 133, standard statements, guidance notes issued by the institute, FRF which is applicable to the entity, whether the FRF has been complied with or not by the entity whose assurance services were performed by the practice unit, the relevant statutes, rules and regulations, whether they have been complied with or not. So these were the technical standards, professional standards. Now is the primary objective? What is the primary objective of peer review? The primary objective of peer review is to improve the quality of members and not to find out the deficiencies. What do you mean by, or what is the scope of peer review? What is the scope of peer review? So the scope of peer review is to comply with the technical standards, quality of reporting को improve करना, system and procedure for the assurance services, training program, compliance with directions and or guidelines for the members के अंदर we studied two things. First of all, what is the fees charged, what are the number of audits that the members are performing, whether they have maintained the register of assurance services or not, and with respect to the articles, whether an attendance register has been maintained by the practice unit, whether the work diaries are completed, whether stipend is paid on time or not. So with respect to stipend payment, work diaries, attendance register, the guidelines which have been issued, whether the compliance of the same has been done by the practice unit or not, the peer reviewer is going to check that. Now, what are the assurance services? Assurance services वो होती है where the practice unit or the chartered accountant basically expresses the conclusions, and this conclusion increases the confidence of the users on that particular statement, on that particular document. ठीक है. Now, what are the services which are not included as assurance service? So first one was the management consultancy services or management consulting engagements. The second one was the expert opinion on accounting standard. Third one was the representation before the authorities. Fourth was engagement to prepare the tax return, and fifth one was compilation of financial statements. There were two more. What were they? First of all, testifying as an expert witness, and the next one was engagement for due diligence. These are not the services, assurance services. These are not the assurance services. So these are out of scope of peer review. Next comes what is the applicability of peer review, on whom peer review is applicable. So for level 1 entities, peer review is applicable once in every 3 years, and for level 2 entities, it is applicable once in every 4 years. Now first of all, let us cover level 1 entities. Level 1 entities may, first of all, the practice unit providing the assurance service of central statutory audit to bank and public financial institutions, central or state PSU, central cooperative society based on turnover or paid up capital as decided or declared by the board. Next was insurance company, regional rural banks. So for all these, if this practice unit is doing the central statutory audit, then this assurance service is covered under level 1. Now second one was the statutory audit of whom? First one was asset management company या फिर mutual fund. Third one was enterprise whose equity or debts are listed. Listing can be done in India also or in abroad. Next point was entity who raised the funds from the public, bank, financial institutions. The limit here was over 50 crores. If the amount is of 50 crores, then this is not covered under the level 1. Okay, now the next point was entity who has raised the donations or contributions over rupees 50 crores. Next point was entity funded by the central or state government over 50 crores. So all these three limits were of more than rupees 50 crores. Next was entity having a net worth of more than 250 crores. Right, now NBFCs as may be defined by the board are covered under this. And last point was statutory audit of parent, subsidiary, associate, joint ventures of the above entities. There was one more point in the level 1 entities which I missed in my notes. What was that point? The point was related to public interest, entities in which there is public interest involved. Okay, these were the level 1 entities. Now we are going to cover up the level 2 entities. Level 2 entities के अंदर assurance services, कौन सी services? Statutory audit, tax audit, internal audit, concurrent audit, system audit, review of branches etc. किस के? Public sector undertaking, that is the PSU, public sector banks, foreign sector banks, private sector banks, insurance companies, cooperative bank, regional rural bank. These are all covered under level 2. Statutory audit of entities who have raised the funds from the bank, public, financial institutions over 25 crores but less than 50 crores. The limit of 50 crores is not covered in level 1, level 2 both. So prima facie देखे तो level 2 में जाना चाहिए क्योंकि level 1 में तो more than वाली जा रही है, तो जो भी बाकी बची हुई है वो level 2 में covered होनी चाहिए थी. But since they have not mentioned it, तो limit क्या है? Over 25 crores but less than 50 crores. Next point was entity having the net worth of over 5 crores या फिर turnover, annual turnover more than 50 crores. तो यहाँ पर नेटवर्थ के साथ देयर इज अ कंपैरिजन विद दी टर्नओवर ऑल्सो. अगर इन दोनों में से कोई भी लिमिट एक्सीड हो जाती है सो इट विल बी कवर्ड अंडर लेवल 2, वेयर एज इन लेवल 1 द लिमिट ऑफ नेटवर्थ वाज अलोन. ठीक है, तो एंटिटी हैविंग नेटवर्थ ऑफ मोर देन 5 करोड़ या फिर एनुअल टर्नओवर मोर देन 50 करोड़, ईदर ऑफ दिस लिमिट एक्सीड्स द लेवल 2 concept will be applicable on that particular practice unit. That is, they'll have to get themselves reviewed once in every 4 years. Next one was NBFC as may be defined by the board. Next point was UDIN generated by a practice unit more than the specified number determined by the board. Next point was any other assurance services which are not covered above. So leftovers भी सारे के सारे किस में आ जाएंगे? लेवल 2 के अंदर आ जाएंगे. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट वॉज अगर कभी भी ऐसा लगता है कि कोई बोर्ड को इन्फॉर्मेशन मिली है, किससे इन्फॉर्मेशन मिली है? फ्रॉम द सेक्रेटरी इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स ऑफ इंडिया या फिर एनी अदर कमिटी ऑफ द इंस्टीट्यूट इंक्लूडिंग द डिसिप्लिनरी डायरेक्टोरेट और एनी अदर रेगुलेटर विच इज इन द ओपिनियन ऑफ द बोर्ड रिक्वायर्स अ स्पेशल रिव्यू ऑफ द प्रैक्टिस यूनिट may conduct a special review of the practice unit. So in case a board receives any specific information that this particular practice unit needs a special review, so special review will be conducted of that practice unit. Okay, now what happens if a practice unit is not selected for peer review? Then that practice unit has a right that they can suo motu apply to the board for the peer review. The board will act within a period of 30 days from the date of receipt of such request to get that practice unit reviewed. Okay, now what happens when a client, the person who is getting audited by the practice unit, wants its auditor to be reviewed? तो इस केस में there is an option that the client may request the board for the peer review of the auditor, that is the practice unit, and the board will again take 30 days to reply on such request. Okay, now board may with the approval of the council modify any of the above criteria which have been mentioned with respect to level 1 and level 2. So there is a option with them, because earlier if you know there were 3 levels, now there are 2 levels. So there happens to be some changes which who must have done these changes? PRB must have done these changes with the approval of whom? With the approval of council. Next point, if board so decides or otherwise at the request of the practice unit, the peer review of the practice unit can be conducted at the shorter intervals also, like 3 years 4 years दिया हुआ है ना, तो उससे कम period में भी also they can be reviewed. Now next topic is peer review board. Peer review board की बात करें तो who constitutes the peer review board? The peer review board is constituted by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. It has maximum 12 members. Maximum 12 members. All these members will be appointed by the council. Out of these 12 members, at least 50% of the members will be from the council. That is, the council members will be a part of this peer review board. How much? At least 50%. The other persons will be from outside bodies. The chairman and the vice chairman will always be selected from those 50% members जो कि council में से हैं. ठीक है. Now what will be the tenure of the members? So for the tenure you have to see कि जो members council में से select हो रहे हैं ना, out of those members selected from the council, 2/3 of the members will have a tenure of 3 years or the balance tenure left as the council member, whichever is less. So 3 साल या फिर जितना भी उनका balance term बचा है as a council member, उसका जो भी less आ रहा होगा, that will be the tenure of 2/3 of the members of the council. Now for other members the tenure will be of 3 years. Now the chairman and the vice chairman may be rotated every year. Who will rotate them? The council will rotate them. Casual vacancies, if any, will be filled by the council only because the appointment was also done by the council. Now, who are the persons disqualified to be a member of the peer review board? So, the members of disciplinary committee or the disciplinary board of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India are disqualified to become a member of the PRB. ठीक है. Now let's talk about the meetings of the board. Meetings of the board की बात करें, so there is a requirement that once in every 3 months a meeting should be conducted, which implies that at least 4 meetings in a year is compulsory. ठीक है. Now if for the meeting to be continued, quorum is required. Now for the quorum, 1/3 of the members or 3, whichever is higher, will be the required quorum for the conduct of meeting. Now if there is no quorum within half an hour of the meeting will be adjourned and the date, time and place will be fixed by the chairman if he was present. If he was not present, then the vice chairman will fix the date, time and place of the adjourned meeting. Okay, now let's talk about the reporting part. So the board has to report to the council prior to the date of every meeting because council is the topmost body. Council ही appoint कर रही है, तो the reporting has to be done by the board to the council. Now let's talk about eligibility to be a reviewer. Eligibility to be a reviewer. A reviewer has to complete the required training and has to clear the required test to become the reviewer. Apart from this, there are a lot of other conditions as well. If you are a member in practice and you have completed at least 10 years in practice, and out of these 10 years you have conducted audit for at least 7 years of level 1 entities, then you can be a reviewer of level 1 entity. But if you have been in practice since the beginning and you have completed at least 7 years in that practice and you have conducted the audit of level 2 entities for n number of years, then in that case you can be the reviewer of the level 2 entity. Okay, now if you have been from the industry, you were doing the job, you were in industry, and in industry you have spent 15 years. Okay, but now you are in practice, and in practice also you have gained an experience of 5 years, then in that case you will be eligible to become the reviewer of level 1 entity. But if you were in job, that is you were in industry and you have gained experience of 10 years, and after that you were in practice, and in practice also you have gained an experience of 3 years, then in that case you can be a reviewer of level 2 entity. So what was the shortcut that I told you to revise this? For member in practice, 10 out of 7 years level 1 में है, then in that case level 1 entity. member in practice 7 में से कुछ भी नंबर level 2 में आपने entities का audit वगैरह कर रखा है, तो आप level 2 का reviewer भी बन सकते हो. member from industry के लिए I told you 15 plus 5 for level 1 and 10 plus 3 for level 2. So this was the shortcut to remember. Next, a member is also required to furnish a declaration as prescribed by the board. This has to be done at the time of acceptance of the peer review appointment. Also, he has to sign a declaration of confidentiality because he is going to have a lot of information. He is going to get the access of a lot of information which is confidential in nature, because he is going to go to the practice unit and obtain that information, right? So he has to sign the declaration of confidentiality as well. Now, a reviewer will not be eligible to be appointed if any disciplinary action or proceeding is pending against him, or he is found guilty of any professional or other misconduct, or he is convicted by court for any offence involving moral turpitude and is punishable with imprisonment, or there is any obligation or conflict of interest on the reviewer with the practice unit. So there are total 5 points in this. First one was related to disciplinary actions and proceedings. Second one was misconducts, professional or other. Third one was convicted by court, imprisonment. And fourth point was any obligation with or conflict of interest in the practice unit. Okay, till here. Now, next point is a reviewer shall not accept any professional work from the date of appointment. आप ना ही 2 years before, ना ही 2 years after. You should have not accepted the professional work 2 years prior to the date of appointment, and also you cannot accept any professional work after the date of appointment for 2 years. Okay, 2 years before, 2 years after की condition है. Now, this is complete eligibility part. Let's move on to the next topic, which is qualified assistant. Qualified assistant के लिए we studied that the qualified assistant should be a CA. Also, he should not be disqualified under section 8 or section 21 of Chartered Accountants Act 1949. Also, there can be only one qualified assistant with the reviewer. Only one is allowed. Also, the name of such qualified assistant has to be intimated to the PRB and also to the practice unit before you commence with your peer review. The qualified assistant is also required to sign the declaration of confidentiality as next to the statement. Why? Because he is also going to get the access of information which is confidential in nature. Also, the qualified assistant is not allowed to have any direct interface with the practice unit or with the PRB. The qualified assistant should be the one who is either a partner or a paid assistant as per the records of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and that partner or paid assistant should be working with you इन योर फर्म ओनली. ऐसा नहीं कि पार्टनर किसी और फर्म में कोई और बंदा है, पार्टनर किसी और का, उसको नहीं बोल रहे. द पार्टनर ऑफ योर फर्म और द पेड असिस्टेंट ऑफ योर फर्म विल ओनली बी अलाउड टू बी अ क्वालिफाइड असिस्टेंट. ठीक है. कॉन्फिडेंशियलिटी हैज टू बी स्ट्रिक्टली मेंटेन्ड बाय ईच वन ऑफ देम. Now, let's move on to the next topic, approach of the reviewer. I hope you are not sleeping, you are paying your attention, full attention pay करना है. We have to pay full attention to this revision. I hope आप revise कर रहे हो अच्छे से और आपको सब चीज़ें recall भी हो रही हैं. ठीक है. So, let's get back to the next topic, which is approach of the reviewer. Approach of the reviewer में we studied 4 steps. First one was obtain an understanding of the assignment. Secondly, you have to select the assurance engagement, that is you have to select on the basis of samples. Thirdly, you have to examine the policies and procedures of the practice unit, and fourth step was you have to review and evaluate the records. What was the procedure? You will take help of the compliance and substantive checking. Now, in the first step, you have to understand the engagement letter. You have to plan the review of documentation. In the second step, you had to ascertain the number of assurance engagements that you have to review based on the evaluation of the replies that have been given by the practice unit to you in the questionnaire. Okay, next step में you have to check whether the necessary documentation that was required is existing or not. You have to check the compliance of the same. In the next step, you have to review the records. For that, first of all, what you will do is to gain the evidence that those general controls on which the reviewer intends to rely upon actually exists or not and functioning effectively throughout the period. See, existing on the date of review does not matter. It has to be checked that throughout the period it was effectively functioning. ठीक है. So, based on the results of the compliance procedures, the reviewer concludes either to rely on the same or not to rely. ठीक है. If he decides that yes, okay, I can rely on the same, now you will have to determine the degree of reliance, the extent of reliance that you can place on the same. With help of this, you will be able to decide the NTE of your substantive procedures. If you can rely on the systems, your general controls, then in that case the NTE of substantive procedures will be less extensive, and vice versa. That is, in case you are not able to rely, definitely the substantive procedures will be more extensive. Okay. Now, obligations of parties पर आ जाते हैं. What are the obligations of the parties? So parties here refers to two, the practice unit and the reviewer. Let's first of all talk about the practice unit. The practice unit has the obligation that he has to allow access to any record, document which is there, and any register which is maintained, or whatever record, document that they possess, they have to give access of the same to the reviewer. Also, if the reviewer asks for any explanation or any information from them, they have to provide the information also, and they have to give full assistance to the reviewer in connection with the peer review. If any information or matter is not in legible form, then it is the responsibility of the practice unit to provide the full, complete, accurate, truthful information to the reviewer. And if it is not in the English language or Hindi language, then the translation of the same has to be provided, and whether the translation is accurate or truthful, this responsibility is on whom? The responsibility is on the practice unit. Now let's talk about the obligation of the reviewer. The reviewer is not at all allowed to take any extracts of the practice unit's client file or records which are examined by him while conducting the peer review as a part of his working papers. No, he is not allowed to do the same. Reviewer shall complete the review within the prescribed time frame, which is 90 days from the date of intimation to the practice unit. I hope you remember this. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, which is the peer review process. This is really important. Please focus over here. Okay, so peer review process mein there were total 4 stages. First stage was selection of the practice unit and appointment of reviewer. Second stage was planning. Third stage was execution, and fourth stage was reporting. Let's first of all talk about the stage 1. Stage 1 mein the board selects the practice units and notifies the practice unit that okay, you have been selected for the peer review, and is going to, the practice unit is required to submit the level of its practice unit within a period of 7 days. Level means which level the practice unit belongs to, whether it is a level 1 practice unit or level 2 practice unit. This has to be intimated by the practice unit to the board in a period of 7 days. Okay, now third step mein the board is going to suggest the practice unit with 3 reviewers names, and the practice unit will have to select one of the names in a period of 7 days. Okay, after intimating the name of the reviewer to the board is going to intimate the respective reviewer that okay, your name has been selected by the practice unit, and this intimation has to be done within a period of 7 days by the board to the reviewer, and the board has to obtain the consent of the reviewer that yes, the reviewer is also ready to conduct the review of the practice unit. Second stage was planning. In the planning stage, board is going to provide the consent of the reviewer to the practice unit, and also will give the practice unit a questionnaire to fill in. Now the practice unit has to fill this particular questionnaire. He has to give the list of assurance clients. He has to tell about the policies and procedures followed by the practice unit, and any proceedings whether they have been pending, or any proceedings which were there prior to the period of review, 3 years prior to the period of review, or till the time the submission of questionnaire is done. The practice unit has to give the details of any proceedings which are against the practice unit or any of the partners. These all the things are to be done within a period of 15 days. So I'll repeat this point. The practice unit has to furnish the following details in 15 days to the reviewer. What are these details? First of all, a filled questionnaire. Second is the complete list of assurance client. Third is the policy and procedure. Fourth one is any proceeding against the practice unit or the partner. The proceedings which were conducted preceding the period of review, 3 years preceding the period of review, till the time the questionnaire is submitted. Okay, and the next point is the practice unit is going to get the reviewer after 15 days from the receipt of information is going to select a sample and intimate that okay, these are the clients I want to review, ask for further information if required, and will plan on-site visit to the practice unit, but the on-site visit can be of maximum 7 to 15 days, and this on-site visit will be conducted only after giving practice unit a period of 15 days to prepare itself and to keep the records ready. The board is going to call for relevant information from the UDIN directorate and share the information with the reviewer. Now there is important timeline which was given, that the entire review process will be completed within how many days? Within a period of 90 days from the date of notification of the PU, ठीक है, which we covered in stage 1.1. Okay, now this was all about the stage 2. Let's cover the stage 3. Stage 3 is the execution stage, where the reviewer will visit the practice unit, but the visit can be of a period maximum 7 to 15 days. Now first of all, he will he will do is he'll compliance review to know the degree of reliance for the review. For this, there are compliance procedures with respect to independence, maintenance of professional skills and standards, outside consultation, staff recruitment and supervision and development, and the last point is office administration. This particular point is covered in detail later on. Okay, we'll do that. जो इसका next point है ना 12th वाला, उसमें we are going to discuss it in detail. Before that, let's first of all complete this stage 3, execution. Selection of assurance services for the review will be the second point, where the reviewer is going to select the number of engagements he wants to review. Now this number will depend upon the standard of quality control, the size and nature of the services, the methodology in providing the services, the number of partners in the practice unit, the number of members in the practice unit who are involved in a particular assurance, number of offices of the practice unit, what is the fees charged by them, or what is the amount of GST paid on a particular assignment. Okay, now after this, the reviewer may reduce or enlarge the initial sample size based upon the subsequent procedures that he performs. Okay, now he is going to do the review of records. Review of records will be done on the basis of compliance approach. Like first of all, he'll do the compliance procedures. Now if we see that the controls are proper, then in that case substantive approach will be less extensive, but the proper controls are not there, then the work will be done to a more extent. Okay, substantive ज़्यादा होगा, detailed ज़्यादा होगा, where you are going to review the working papers to ensure that all requirements have been complied with. Okay, the last stage was reporting. Report on all above points. First of all, the reviewer is going to submit a preliminary report to the practice unit with the findings for further clarification if any. ठीक है, first of all preliminary report issue होगी. Preliminary report सिर्फ और सिर्फ तब issue होती है जब कुछ clarification की ज़रूरत होती है. Now the practice unit is going to submit its response with respect to preliminary report within a period of 15 days to the reviewer. Now what the reviewer is going to do is he is going to issue the final report. The final report can be either a clean report or a modified report. If he issues the clean report, now the clean report along with the initial findings and the response of the practice unit, these three things will be submitted to the board. But if the reviewer issues the modified report, in that case there is one more thing that the reviewer needs to give. What is that? The reason for modification. So in case the reviewer submits a modified report to the board, then in that case the modified report along with its reasons, initial finding and the responses of the practice unit will be submitted to the board. Now when is the modified report issued? Modified report is issued if the response of the practice unit is not satisfactory to the reviewer. Okay, now the reviewer will also submit this particular report to the practice unit. Either it is a clean report or it is a modified report, irrespective of the fact which type of report it is, the reviewer is going to submit the same to the practice unit also. Now the board within 3 months, 3 months from the receipt of the report, is going to issue a peer review certificate to the practice unit. Along with this, the board is going to mention the next due date. Okay, now follow on review in case of modified report after a period of 1 year or decided by the board will be issued. In case a modified report was issued, then in that case the follow on review will be mentioned, that okay, your follow on review will be conducted on your practice unit. It is generally after a period of 1 year from the date of issue of report, but the board has the power that they can reduce this period of 1 year, but the period cannot be less than 6 months. Okay, now the peer review certificate is valid for a period of whole tenure, जैसे कि 3 years या 4 years depending upon the level of your practice unit. But for the continued peer review certificate, what you need to do, you need to get yourself peer reviewed 1 month before the expiry of the certificate. Like if your review, your certificate is going to expire after a period of 3 years, then in like 2 years 11 months you should be completed, you should get yourself reviewed again so that a new report is submitted to the board. Okay, so the validity is like that. You have to apply and complete the peer review process 1 month before the expiry of the peer review certificate. Okay, I hope you are clear with this. Also the point that I told you that 1 year can be reduced but at least 6 months from the date of issue of report, this is an important question from the point of view of MCQ. This was with respect to the follow on review. Okay, I hope you are clear till here. Okay, let's move on to the compliance review procedures. First of all, let's talk about independence. So first of all, you have to see whether the practice unit has a policy to ensure the independence, objectivity, integrity on the part of partners, staff. Now, who is responsible for this policy? This needs to be checked. Next is, does the practice unit communicate these policies and the expected standards of professional behavior to all the staff? Whether the communication process is there, whether the compliance monitoring is also done, whether you check whether the compliance with respect to the policies and procedures relating to independence is ensured, who monitors the same. Okay, now does the practice unit periodically reviews its association with the clients to ensure the objectivity and independence? How does the practice unit deal with the threats to independence? So there are total 5 points in the case of independence. First one was policies क्या क्या है, second one was communicate हुई है या नहीं, third one was monitor होती है या नहीं कि compliance हो रहा है या नहीं, फोर्थ वन वॉज वेदर अ पीरियोडिकल रिव्यू इज कंडक्टेड कि आपका क्लाइंट्स के साथ एसोसिएशन क्या है, फिफ्थ वन वॉज थ्रेट्स टू इंडिपेंडेंस को किस तरीके से डील किया जा रहा है. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट वॉज प्रोफेशनल स्किल्स एंड स्टैंडर्ड्स. विद दिस डज द प्रैक्टिस यूनिट हैव एन एस्टैब्लिश्ड प्लान फॉर प्रोफेशनल नीड्स एट ऑल द लेवल्स बेस्ड ऑन द करंट एंड एंटिसिपेटेड क्लाइंटेल, बिजनेस ग्रोथ, impending retirements, etc. Does the practice unit have a continuing education program for partners and staff? Like there are a lot of updations, whether education program is conducted with respect to the same, whether there is an established recruitment policy, like which type of staff is required for what work, whether you check the skills of that particular staff. Now, does the practice unit conduct programs for developing the expertise in the specialized areas and the industries? Are the applicants and new personnel informed of the personnel policies, procedures which are relevant to them? How easily are current and relevant professional literature, including the accounting, auditing standards and pronouncements by professional bodies, available to the partners and staff? Now, these are some of the points of professional skills and standards. After that, we have the outside consultation in this, whether there is any policy for consulting the experts. Consulting can be done with the internal experts also or with the external experts also. So, whether there is any policy with respect to the same. Next point was staff supervision and development. Does the practice unit have a written guideline on the responsibility at each level and on the expected performance, qualification which is necessary for the advancement to the next level, like promotions and all? Next is, are the requirements of specialized expertise and personal skills given due consideration? So whether there is any system for gathering and evaluating the information on the performance of the personnel, system of assigning an audit to the most appropriate personnel, whether there is any system or not, written guidelines for maintaining the working papers, like what form or content of the working paper is required in your practice unit. Now, whether there is any standardized forms or checklist, questionnaires to assist the conduct of audit. So whether the practice unit has all these things, you have to check the same. Next point was with respect to the office administration. So does the practice unit have an established procedure for record retention, like what security aspects do you consider? How do you maintain the staff registers? Do you have any proper library where you keep all the books and publications of the institute? Whether you maintain a proper record जिसमें कि सारे client का नाम, nature, सब कुछ mentioned हो, from which date you commence the audit, what type of audit it is, like do you maintain all such records or not? So because these are important things, right? So these are what compliance review procedures. There were total 5 points to this. Total how many points? Total 5 points थे इसके respect में. Next topic is miscellaneous topics. Miscellaneous topic में there were total 3 points, जिसमें से हम 2 cover करेंगे क्योंकि third point was with respect to the difference between peer review and quality review, which we will cover in the quality review portion. Okay, now let's cover the first point, which was with respect to collection of evidence by the peer reviewer. Now peer reviewer can collect the evidences by three methods. First one was inspection, second one was observation, and third one was inquiries. Now when I talk about inspection, so inspection includes what? Includes scrutiny of the documentation and the records of the practice unit. What do you mean by observation? Observation means you are going to observe the procedures, the processes which are being followed by the practice unit. Inquiry means you are going to inquire, you are going to collect the information from the responsible persons of the practice unit, like you can use the questionnaires for this purpose. Okay, next point was inherent limitations of the peer review. What are the inherent limitations of peer review? So peer review is conducted in accordance with the statement of on peer review, and there are high chances that you are not going to get all the weaknesses in the compliance of technical standards and maintenance of quality of assurance services. The reason is that the tests are performed on the basis of selection. The selective test होते हैं. You do the sampling, and on the sampling basis you issue a report, right? So as there are inherent limitations in the effectiveness of the system of quality control, which happens to be the subject matter of review, departure from the system may occur and may not be detected. So there is always a chance of inherent limitation. There is always a chance कि कुछ ना कुछ गलत हो जाए. आप हर चीज़ चेक नहीं कर सकते, डिटेल्ड नहीं होता इसीलिए, right? So this was all about this particular thing. We have covered all the topics that we covered in peer review. ये मैंने इसकी डिटेल वीडियो ऑलरेडी डाली हुई है, ये रिविजन भी अच्छे से हमने कर लिया है. सो दिस इज़ ऑल अबाउट दिस पर्टिकुलर चैप्टर. आई होप यू एंजॉयड रिवाइजिंग दिस with me, and do use this video for quick revisions, जिससे कि आप बार बार इस पर्टिकुलर चैप्टर को जल्दी से रिवाइज कर पाओ. एंड यू कैन यूज दिस पर्टिकुलर वीडियो फॉर योर 1 day before the exam revision also. So yeah, that's it for today guys. Thank you so much for watching my videos. I hope you enjoyed revising it. That's all for today. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy. Bye bye.